customer data, basically.
Awesome.
Of course.
Just get it.
And I will add the link once it's ready.
Cool.
I think it is ready now. So.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ali, and I'm a product designer on the Configure team, and this is our design pairing session. Today, we'll be going through three things. We'll be going through the environments page visualization and some of the feedback that we got. We'll also be going through the agent list cleanup and some of the feedback that we got from the research and how we incorporate some of the feedback and insights that we got. And then lastly, we'll just go through the dashboard. Cool. Let me share my screen. So we got some feedback, firstly regarding the statuses that we want to adopt here, like healthy. So Emily mentioned that in her team, they are currently exploring incorporating healthy, attention, and critical. So they are still a bit far in how they will implement that. So in the meantime, she gave us the go ahead to implement the way we want to. But I mean, do we foresee? Obviously, we'd have to document in the docs what each of those statuses mean. Should we take them on board? I mean, Victor, you were okay with the idea?
Yeah, I was totally okay with it.
Okay.
We have to figure out what maps to what that I started to describe. I didn't have immediately an idea, but then as I started to write, I came up with something there, like what is critical, for example.
Yeah. Yes.
In general, I think we will have to think about the possible statuses here, but instead of us thinking about it, I think it makes more sense to look at the Argo code, for example, or the Flux code and see what they have, because they already went through this. So why would we?
Yeah. So I think what they said is that Argo comes with default checks that checks specific resources, and it maps to the statuses that they have. And then I think they also give users the ability to customize and put additional checks that are linked to the healthy. I don't know if with our agent it checks all the resources, or is there going to be a situation where a user might want to customize and have something else checked?
I think so. It's the issue here is this proliferation of this hierarchy of resources that, like, you configure a deployment and that spins up pods, and perhaps not everything has a status field, and so on. So that's the issue there. But I think that if, and very likely we will go with Flux, it actually has a status entity which has a reconcile request status attribute. I'm trying to look up the come on, what's going on? Okay, and now I might be able to get there. No. No. seemingly it had just a last handled reconcile at attribute, but it would need more scrutiny, I think, to figure out what's the best thing here to report the status back. Yeah, I don't see any specific things.
I guess we'll have to do some digging
Yeah.
as we go. And then the other feedback was from Anna. I don't know, Anna, do you want to vocalize?
Yeah, I was wondering if it's possible to get a combination of failed last sync but status synced and vice versa. So I am actually wondering if these two statuses are about the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think they are not, but we might be able to get rid of one of the three. Not necessarily the last sync, and so I don't see it that we could merge, last sync and sync status, but we might be able to merge environment health and last sync, I think. Because sync status should show that the sync is ongoing, for example, that it's happening right now. And that's why I don't think it could be merged into the last sync or the environment health. On the other hand, last sync basically simply means that there was a change in the Git repo, and we managed to pull those changes into the cluster, and then in the cluster we managed to apply those changes. And I think if we fail anywhere in this line, that's an environment health issue. So we could likely merge the last sync and the environment health. That's a good point, I think. Ali, does it make sense to you?
So
But then,
yeah, I'm just thinking, is it only dependent on the sync? So if something else starts to happen in the cluster, that's got nothing to do with sync.
yeah, that's what I wanted to add as well. But still, I think Anna might have a point here that simply having those three environment health statuses, you need some more explanation, like what's happened actually. Like, is it the sync failed, or a deployment could not start because some pods didn't start, or the previous pods could not be stopped for some reason. So with those three environment health, there has to go some explanation. And then it means that it could be an explanation like there was an issue with the synchronization.
Oh.
So I think it could still be merged, but we need more data.
And I guess like the logs and metrics would be too much for them just to know that simple information.
Yeah,
would be too much. Okay.
Yeah, especially as it might not even be, there might be no logs for it. I think it's a good idea because it simplifies the UI, but what I'm thinking about is how can we show this extra information? Because the environment health discussion spoke about that there are, how you call them, incidents around GitLab, that there's an incident opened for it. And it's like, do we want to open these incidents all the time and the sync failed? I'm not sure, but we need somewhere where we can link.
Yeah, I guess we can I think it's part of some of the issues that I wanted to discuss in the dashboard design. Yeah, I shared the dashboard with Andy, and he gave me some feedback at the end. It led me down the path of how users will possibly be looking at their flow from the time they change the deployment, and then they commit that, and then it gets merged from the merge request page. Like, what are they looking at that will help them to follow that deployment?
Yeah, I see. And did you have any proposals there, or did he have any ideas, or it was just the question?
It's just the question. But then I do have some ideas. We can discuss it. When we discuss the dashboard. But so with this, we want to explore how we can bring in a message that could. Are we keeping these two statuses, or is that message going to replace these two statuses? I mean, one of these statuses possibly.
I would say to try to drop the last sync one and merge it into the environment health.
Okay. So if a sync doesn't happen, the environment would be unhealthy, and the reason would be because a sync failed.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
I'm just taking a note of this actually in the issue, in this design.
Okay. Yeah, and then I think that's the main feedback that we got. Otherwise, Justin just had some inputs around, especially for scannability. Pyjamas has a recommendation to align some of the stuff in the tables. So that was the feedback was mainly around that. And also since Pyjamas say we should only bring in pagination when there's 20 items, Justin suggested I get some feedback from the other designers if 10 is okay. But I guess we have our reasons for 10, and I hope the other designers will see it that way. But I will ask for feedback, and then that's it. And then there's just the issue that you mentioned of how you see this being applied.
If
I guess that's it.
To design number 2.
Sure.
I just posted that message.
Okay. Cool.
Please read it if I manage to capture.
Yeah.
And then from the merge request, like how to get, like what to do next once you merge.
Mm-hmm.
My guess would be that it's either the environment view should be integrated into the merge request,
mm-hmm.
or there should be a quick link that immediately opens your specific environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because this is how it would look. And we're saying from here. I mean, I thought about an environments or a Kubernetes widget, but
I would say environments widget instead of a Kubernetes one, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if we have any of that today. I don't know. I will try to check one of my personal projects where I use environments in CI. Give me a second. It has a link to the environment, actually. This is in preview, And once it's merged, then it has again a link to the environment. It's very similar in both cases. I will post a
Yes, please.
screenshot into the doc.
Okay.
This is what we have in the merge request.
Okay.
It's in the doc. If you go over there, feel free to share. It's not nothing sensitive in there.
In our agenda doc.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Let me bring that up.
It's really minimal.
Okay. Okay. And then okay, this is just the widget. It has similar things to what the widget, what the environment has. Like you can view the app and you can stop the environment, but it's got this is all that it has.
Exactly.
Okay.
I mean, it might be just my environment, but in my merge request, this is everything I can find.
Okay. There's a lot of potential.
This shouldn't be our topic, actually. I think this should be the topic of the release team. And I'm going to pass it over to Chris Balen to make sure that they this is. I think it's a great idea to have more information in the merge request, like immediately. But this is out of scope for us.
Yeah, because I mean, when I was doing like some sort of examining the user flow, I was thinking like, why would a user need to navigate to environments or dashboards to follow the rollout? I know like eventually you want them to get a, and also do we want to give them a Slack notification if the rollout is successful?
These are very to the point. Exactly. Yes, we definitely want even more when it fails, actually. So this should be configurable, but yes, we do want to provide Slack notifications.
And then so Andy pointed me to the securities dashboard. I remember we spoke about navigation. So you see that the security dashboard has its own right menu. And then also our dashboard, is it going to be at a group level? Sorry,
just understand. Now we are moving over to the dashboard topic, right? So design discussion. Sorry. I mean, environment design discussion done.
Yes. Okay. Environments is done. Sorry, we're moving over to a dashboard.
One more question, Anna. I don't know if you are available because I see that you had to switch off and mute yourself. Yeah, if you are, do you have any questions or anything, any feedback around the environment design?
I don't have any other questions other than I already posted.
Good. Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
Oh, no, actually, I had one question. Sorry, I forgot about it. So at what point do we want to show the environment health? I mean, when sync is in progress and when something is in progress, do we want to already show that?
Yes, that's why we need two statuses because let's take a setup where it's not the first deployment. Okay, we have our V1 app already deployed and running, and we are deploying V2. And the V1 environment is healthy. It's healthy all the time. And we are deploying V2. There we need a sync we need a status feedback that it's being deployed. There is a syncing happening. And once the new deployment, the new container was set up, the pods started, and the old pods got teared down, the environment status remains healthy. So the environment status was healthy all the time, while the sync status was changing from out of sync to syncing and syncing. Does it make sense?
Yeah. It sounds
Okay.
good. Thank you.
Now, for the first time deploy, that's a tough question, and I don't have an answer. Because there, basically, you are setting up the environment. It can't be healthy yet. It's not failed. It's just being provisioned, basically. So it's like something like that. But we might say that it's unhealthy from moment zero in that case, because I already want to have that environment. That's what I expect to be there. It's just not critical that it's not there, something like that, I think. But that's a tough question. I don't have a strong opinion even there. So yeah. We can look into it, I think, what others do and learn from them, and after ask even users if it's necessary.
Sounds good.
Okay, let's take note of this, and then I think we can move on.
Okay. Yep. So with our previous design, we had a challenge with the navigation. If somebody had a cluster that had more than we had our tab navigation, how were we going to fit in all those elements? That was the challenge with the previous design. And so, and you pointed me to how the security design carefully is, it's got its own place in GitLab. And the only challenge that with this design is that it's independent of any group particular project. So you have to add a project or group for you to start seeing whatever is in there. And I thought it was it could be an interesting approach for us as well. I mean, when I think of a platform engineer that's possibly managing across many groups and projects, maybe they only want to, or if you're in a team and you are assigned environments that for certain apps, maybe you might want to segment your dashboard that way for you to only look at what is concerning you, or maybe there are teams that look across groups and projects. So, but then, yeah, there might be challenges with that approach. So I just wanted to bring that up.
I think we should have the dashboard at the instance level. But your first job is to pick an agent connection, basically, which might not be a specific environment, but you might have rights to see the whole cluster or something like that, while others might be limited to see parts of the cluster only. But you should pick an agent, just like with Lens, you have to pick a cluster that you want to watch.
Yes, yes.
The same way, I think we should say that, okay, check out this agent that you have access to. And that shouldn't be even a filter. So that's something that is a requirement. You should do it anyway. And after that, you can have more insights. We might have, or we could have perhaps some basic insights at this very high level without picking anything, but I'm not even sure whether it's needed. That's it. So, but I agree, it should be at the instance level. And then the question is, once you picked a specific agent, then I think the big question are the available filters. Like, can I filter for projects?
Yeah.
Or environments, or I can only filter for Kubernetes entities? I think that's the big question.
Yeah. And that will all be determined by the permissions you have.
No.
Okay.
What you see in the cluster, that is determined by your permissions. Am I clear?
Just trying to. So somebody would come here potentially, and then they would see that they have access to agent 1, for example, and then connect to that, and then whatever the dashboard, whatever resources the dashboard is showing, that is what you have access to. Yeah, from deployments, services, ingresses,
Yes.
etc.
And then comes the question, how can you filter those? Because you might not be interested in all the deployments and all the services, but just some services coming from a specific project or set of projects. And whether we provide any GitLab level filters for this,
Yes.
or they should go with what they set up as labels, and it's outside of our reach, basically.
Okay, those are some interesting questions. But yes, I think for me, the project and group filters might make sense, especially if their work is apportioned that way. If they are dedicated to a project or a team. But then in terms of so we can't have both the labels and the group filters.
I'm not sure, because what if the two work together? Like if you can open this link, give me a sec. I'm adding it to our agenda.
Sure.
It's in the agenda doc, you can see it there. This is a proposal to have at first, without the environment kind and without any customizations, on what to show on the environments, how to populate the pod numbers, deployment numbers, and all that we just discussed 5 minutes ago. And here the idea is that we can use labels that are predefined labels by GitLab. And GitLab might not even take care of adding these labels to the resources, so it might be the user job. But if they add them, GitLab can visualize them. And what if, like, we have here an environment label, a CI project path slug, as you can see, results, we can actually filter for an environment within a project.
Yeah.
Or we can filter for an environment across projects because we don't specify the project for the filter. So I think it might be possible to mix the two. And basically saying that when you use a project filter, it actually sets up a label. It's just clever enough to have the user with autocomplete and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think there are possibilities to have both.
Sure. Yeah.
Because the what we should keep in mind is that Kubernetes uses labels and annotations to describe its resources. These are used to match those resources later on. These are labels that are used to match, actually.
Yeah, I think these will be good filters to have. Definitely to especially with the approach that we're going with. Yeah. So if somebody has access to dev, prod, whatever the environments, they can filter according to those. And then if they filter, if there's a project slug, then we can show that on a column to say, this is a particular resource in this environment, but it also belongs to this project.
That's a very good idea. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and the same for environments. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great idea, I think, because then the UI is actually GitLab specific immediately, and gives it size that yes, this resource comes from that project and it's in that environment. That's great. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. That's the thing. So I'll
take note of this.
Okay, so I guess since we've agreed on this approach, I'll then I just started with remaking the menu. But in terms of what we want to show in a cluster, like we want to show everything, because I've just been taking
Yes.
pictures of other dashboarding tools, and I mean they also have a section for like custom resources and RBAC. We want to show that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Kubernetes has some the Kubernetes API is so rich that it actually allows to describe the UI that the resource creator intends to have with a specific resource. So not all of these resources, but some of these resources can actually be auto-generated, can generate the UI for themselves if we code code to that learns how to read this. I would expect that these RBAC pod deployment, they have a default set. Custom resource definitions, some of them might have definitions for the UI, some of them might not. But even if they don't have, every Kubernetes resource has a set of core required attributes like name and possibilities for labels and namespace. So we can always visualize those.
Okay.
I think the big questions are that I see 3 big questions for the UI here. One is this very default minimal view. What should it be?
Yeah.
I went, let's say 3 types of UI. I like the default minimal one for unknown resources. The second is the custom ones for resources if you want to provide a custom UI. And the third is worthwhile to implement views as defined by the CR. So this is what I just described. I added a note of that in our agenda. Default views for unknown resources. These more important resources like deployment pod that you are focusing on first. That likely want to have custom views. And then the third, which might be the second, actually the same, is we could look into this UI spec that resource definitions might have, and whether we want to implement that so that these UIs are actually auto-generated instead of us creating all the details. And they might work even for the not so high level and important things like pods and deployments.
And the UI spec, looking into that, would that be something that Anna does, or
the UI spec? Yes,
the UI spec?
I think it's not a priority yet.
Okay.
I would like it for Anna or actually someone to do. Yeah, someone from engineers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. And then there's also some interesting views that people are experimenting with. So I'll see how I can incorporate something visual. At least this one helps with you're not showing each and every item. If it's a replica, you can just say there's 3 of them instead of showing each one individually.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll carry on with the dashboard, and then I guess in terms of the widget, you said you will raise it up with Chris.
Yes, I will raise that with Chris, exactly. What I would recommend to focus on is to very quickly create a minimal view for the very custom resources.
Okay.
If you look at any of the custom resource definitions, I guess most tools won't have dedicated views for those. So
Mhm, mhm.
you should be able to gather ideas
Yeah.
from that. And then start working on some of the more specific ones, like deployments and pods and the
Yeah.
menu items you actually have here.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, what I plan to work on is that view, and also when you click on a particular element, how that's going to look like on the drawer component.
I very strongly recommend to start thinking about the filters from the very beginning.
Oh, yes.
I
Yeah.
think filters in GitLab are not very well done in general. and filtering Kubernetes elements is a big topic for us because
Got it. Okay. And I had some feedback on the Kubernetes issue. I just haven't read it. Let me see if I can find it here. Okay, no, I guess the feedback that I saw was on the other one. No, there was no feedback here. Okay, so I guess that's it for the dashboard issue. I'll move on to the agent list. So just a reminder of what that is. So we were testing to see if surfacing agents at a group and project level, what the users thought about our proposals. So this would be the first view that a user would see when they navigate to the agents. Let me see if I have a better one here. See if I find a better one. Yes, so the user would view all the agents that they have, and then with each status, and then they would also be able to see the associated groups and projects that the agent is functioning. So some of the feedback that we got was users wanted to see some of the information immediately available here. So a way to expand this table and provide some some additional information without them necessarily navigating into the agent detail page. Although like it's a good insight, like for agents that have like 20 groups, for example, we won't be able to list how many groups and projects that is. That would, yeah. And then also we wanted to have this connect to cluster button. At the time, users were gonna have access to the config, and then they were gonna be able to use whatever visualization tool that they want to view cluster details. There was some confusion around that concept. So some users thought that they would be taken to somewhere where they can actually connect to the cluster, where they get some credentials to connect to the cluster, and then other users thought it would take them to a Kubernetes dashboard where they can actually view what is in the cluster. So that was the feedback we got around that.
Both options are actually valid, and even Google offers both. It offers to get the credentials and connect from your command line or open a terminal within Google, and I think both are totally valid. We will have to figure out which one we want to start with. Yeah, but great feedback.
Yeah. And then the second feedback that we got was some users felt overwhelmed with all the notifications here. They felt that maybe if we can segment them to the most urgent ones that they need to pay attention to, if there was a way we could do that, and at least collapse all the historical ones and just have like recent notifications. So I don't know if there's some way we were thinking, and would there be a way for them to actually troubleshoot the agent on their own if something?
Yeah, if they see something bad here. Yeah. Good point. Considering the information, yeah. I mean, I could share first ideas that come to my mind, but actually, I will have to run very soon. And
Okay. And then the last piece of feedback was around this section here. So let's say an agent has access to 20 or 30 projects or 100 projects. The users wanted a way to filter those projects. Either by the most simple thing I could think about, or some sort of search functionality as a way to filter, and then they could quickly find information about the project. There was also feedback around like information around who last worked on the project.
Sorry, give me a second. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. My best saying. Yeah. Okay, sorry. I just want to speak with my Ukrainian guests tonight.
No.
They were just leaving.
No worries. Yeah. So information around like who last worked on the agent. So one guy says his organization, like, people move around a lot, and sometimes he'll have to go work on a project that involves an agent, and he doesn't know like who last installed this agent. So when somebody connects an agent to a group, some people want to know like who did some metadata around who might have done that particular action.
The connection?
Yes, the connection.
Okay. 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 I understand. I don't see yet how it would fit this design, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. Otherwise, that was the majority of the feedback. So in terms of, I mean, the search one, I could add it to the design. I don't think I need to open an issue for that. So with the one for connection, should I open it? I mean, like metadata around that, I should probably open an issue for that, and we will look at it later.
For that, I think we should tackle that in the follow-up, not as part of this one.
And then
but
organizing this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I could open an issue for that.
Yeah. Let's do that.
And then the connect to cluster one.
Okay. I think if want to go forward with this, we can start developing this list page without the connect to cluster functionality.
Okay. Mhm.
And we can actually develop if you click inside,
Mhm.
not the list page, but yes, the groups and projects page
Mhm.
with the filter preferably, because that's
Mhm.
a very good point there.
Mhm. Okay.
That would be my take on it.
Okay. Cool. So
Thank you.
I'll work on the feedback, incorporate it into the design, and then I will.
Yeah, and open the other issues, and then we can discuss
Yeah.
those, how to move with those.
Okay,
Great,
cool.
this is amazing. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, this is it. Okay, sure.
And now I have to run.
Cool. Thanks.